The mining colony on Vera 9 was quiet at night. Too quiet. Marcus Hale had learned long ago that silence on the frontier was never a good sign. The colony domes stood like tired giants in the endless dust, their lights flickering against the red storm that roared outside. Beyond the walls, nothing lived for long. The air was poison, the ground broken and sharp, the wind strong enough to peel the skin from unprotected flesh. Marcus tugged his respirator mask tighter as he walked along the perimeter fence. His boots crunched in the grit, his rifle slung casually over his shoulder. He didn't expect trouble. Miners rarely rioted, and smugglers rarely came this deep. But the colony demanded guards, and Marcus needed the credits. It was just another empty shift. Until he saw it, a flicker of movement through the storm. At first, he thought it was a broken drone limping back to base, sparks cutting through the haze. But drones didn't stumble. Drones didn't collapse. Marcus stopped dead, squinting against the wind. Someone had fallen outside the gate. "Damn it," he muttered. His hand hovered over the gate controls. The rules were clear. Never open the colony to unknowns. But leaving whoever was out there meant death in minutes. He pressed the override. The gate groaned, opening just enough for him to slip through. The storm hit him instantly, a wall of dust and grit that rattled against his helmet. His visor dimmed, struggling to cut through the red blur. Still, he pushed forward, one step at a time, following the faint outline on the ground. When he reached the figure, his stomach lurched. It wasn't human. The being lay curled in the dust, gasping. Its skin shimmered faintly silver, catching light even through the storm. Smooth ridges ran along its temples, fading into hair like spun crystal. Its frame was slender but strong, wrapped in torn fabric Marcus didn't recognize. An alien? Marcus hesitated. The colony's laws were brutal about outsiders. No alien could be trusted. No alien could be let inside. And if the enforcers caught him dragging this thing in, he could lose more than his job. He could lose his home. But then the alien's eyes flickered open, glowing a soft violet, like twin shards of amethyst. They locked onto his. There was no anger in them, no threat, only pain, only a silent plea. Marcus clenched his jaw. "Damn it all," he whispered, and scooped the alien into his arms. The storm fought him every step as he staggered back to the gate. His suit filters screamed, warning of contamination. The alien was barely breathing, its chest rising and falling in uneven gasps. By the time Marcus stumbled into the airlock, alarms were already blaring. Unauthorized biological entity detected. The automated voice droned. Quarantine protocol activated. Security drones swiveled, their red eyes scanning the alien in his arms. Marcus ignored them, shoving through the inner door and storming straight into the med bay. The medbot activated, its voice clipped and metallic. "Subject does not match human physiology. Treatment may be ineffective. Suggest immediate transfer to colony security." "Not happening," Marcus snapped. He laid the alien on the med table, yanking open a pack of sealant foam. The creature's side was torn open, a deep wound leaking a strange bluish fluid. He worked fast, sealing the gash as best he could. The alien gasped, trembling, its eyes fluttering open again. For the first time it spoke, the word soft, halting but understandable. "You saved me." Marcus froze. The voice was strange, musical, but it was clear. "Yeah," he muttered. "Guess I did." The alien's lips curved faintly, the smallest shadow of a smile. "Then my life belongs to you." Before Marcus could answer, the med bay door slammed open. 2 colony enforcers stormed in, armored and armed. Their rifles snapped up, aimed straight at the table. "Step away from the alien, Hale," one barked. His voice was cold, official. "You know the rules. That thing is property of the colony now." Marcus's stomach sank. He knew what that meant. They wouldn't treat it. They wouldn't save it. They'd carve it apart, sell what they could, and dump the rest. The alien's hand shot out, weak but desperate, gripping Marcus's wrist. Its violet eyes burned into his, filled with fear. "Please," it whispered. Marcus's heart hammered. He looked at the rifles. He looked at the alien. And he knew he would not let it die here. Not like this. That night, Marcus Hale chose defiance over safety. He saved an alien's life, knowing it would cost him everything. What he didn't know was that the gift she would give him in return would change the fate of both their worlds. The rifles didn't waver. Both enforcers stood in the doorway, their faces hidden behind black visors. The lead officer's voice was sharp, metallic through the helmet speakers. Marcus Hale, you are in direct violation of colony law. Step away from the alien now. This is your only warning. Marcus didn't move. His eyes flicked from the guns to the alien on the med table. Her grip on his wrist was weak, trembling, but her violet gaze held him like iron. He had been in this position before, staring down men with weapons, his own heart racing. On the battlefield years ago, he had learned a simple truth. Sometimes hesitation was the same as death. Can't do that, Marcus said finally, his voice low but steady. The enforcers tensed. Final warning. Marcus moved. His hand shot to the table, snatching up the med kit. With a flick of his wrist, he hurled it at the lead enforcer's helmet. The kit struck hard, buying him a second. In that instant, Marcus slammed his palm on the med bay's emergency seal. The doors hissed shut, locking with a heavy clang. Alarm screamed. Security breach detected. The enforcers pounded on the door, their muffled shouts lost under the wail of sirens. Marcus turned back to the alien, breathing hard. Looks like we're out of time. She blinked at him, her voice faint. You risk everything. Yeah, Marcus muttered, lifting her into his arms. Story of my life. The corridors of Vera, 9 twisted like a maze, lit only by the red glow of emergency lights. Marcus moved fast, his boots pounding the metal floor. The alien was light, far lighter than he expected, but her breaths came shallow and pained against his shoulder. Security bots swiveled to life as he rounded a corner, their targeting beams locked onto him. Unauthorized entity detected. Surrender immediately. Marcus didn't slow. He yanked his rifle from his back, firing quick bursts. Sparks exploded as the bots collapsed in smoking heaps. He kept moving. Every hallway echoed with alarms now. The whole colony would be hunting him soon. At last, he reached the docking bay. Rows of battered ships sat in their cradles, engines cold. Most were haulers and minor rigs, but in the far corner sat a small freighter with peeling paint. The Wraith. His ship, his only ticket out. Marcus bolted up the ramp, slamming the hatch closed behind him. The alien stirred weakly as he set her down in the passenger seat. What are you doing? She whispered. Getting us off this rock before they skin us both alive, Marcus said, rushing to the cockpit. The controls flickered to life under his hands. Engines roared, vibrating the deck plates. Outside, security klaxons blared louder now. Through the viewport, Marcus saw armored vehicles rolling into bay, headlights cutting through the steam. Enforcers poured out, rifles raised. Not good, Marcus muttered. The ship shuddered as blaster fire rattled against the hull. He gritted his teeth and slammed the throttle forward. The Wraith lifted, engine screaming, smoke billowing as it forced its way skyward. Explosions rocked the bay behind them, metal tearing as the blast doors tried to close. Marcus shoved the ship through the narrowing gap just in time. Then they were free, soaring into the storm-choked sky. For a long while, the cockpit was filled only with the sound of engines and Marcus's ragged breathing. Red clouds rolled past the viewport, lightning crackling in the distance. Finally, he glanced at his passenger. The alien sat slumped in her seat, her skin pale but glowing faintly in the dim light. You all right? Marcus asked. She lifted her head slowly. Her voice was soft but clear. I live because of you. Marcus scratched the back of his neck, uneasy. Yeah, well, don't thank me yet. Colony'll have a bounty on my head by sunrise. Her violet eyes studied him, searching. You risked everything for a stranger. Why? Marcus looked away, out at the storm. He thought of the faces he had left behind in wars that weren't his. He thought of the years he had spent drifting, never belonging. Because I've seen what happens when no one helps, he said finally, and I couldn't watch it happen again. The alien was silent for a moment, Then she said softly, "My name is Soraya." Marcus glanced at her, surprised. It was the first personal thing she had offered. "Soraya," he repeated. "All right, I'm Marcus. Guess that makes us partners in trouble." Her lips curved faintly, almost a smile. "More than that, among my people, a life debt cannot be broken. I owe you everything." Marcus frowned. "A life debt?" Soraya nodded, her eyes glowing brighter. "You saved me. In return, what I give you will change everything you think you know." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, the console beeped sharply. A new signal flashed on the scanner. He leaned forward and froze. A ship was tailing them. Sleek, fast, too advanced for miners or colony enforcers. Trouble already? Marcus muttered. Soraya's eyes darkened. "Not trouble," she whispered. "Hunters." The stormy clouds of Vera. 9 fell away as a wraith broke through the upper atmosphere. For a moment, Marcus let himself breathe easier. The stars opened before them, endless and bright. Freedom was so close he could almost taste it. Then the scanner beeped again. A sleek vessel slid into view on the screen. Dark hull, narrow frame, engines glowing a cold blue. It was no colony craft. This was something else. Something built for speed. "Not good," Marcus muttered, adjusting controls. "They're gaining." Soraya sat up straighter in her seat, her violet eyes fixed on the display. The glow in them darkened, sharp with recognition. "They are not enforcers," she said quietly. "They are trackers, paid to hunt and deliver." Marcus glanced at her. "Deliver what?" Her gaze met his. "Me." The words hit like a hammer. Marcus didn't bother asking why. Not yet. The important part was survival. The hunter ship closed the distance, weapons arming. Warning alarms shrieked through the cockpit. Marcus tightened his grip on the controls. "Hold on." The first volley struck like thunder. Blue plasma bolts streaked across the black, tearing past a wraith. One slammed into the rear shields, rattling the ship hard enough to throw Marcus against the seat. Shields down to 60%. The computer droned. Marcus swore under his breath and banked hard, weaving through the asteroid belt that lay ahead. Massive rocks floated like silent giants, their shadows stretching across the stars. "Best cover we're going to get," he muttered, pushing the throttle forward. The freighter dove into the belt, weaving between tumbling stones. Plasma fire chased them, shattering smaller rocks into shards that slammed against the hull. Soraya gripped her seat, but her face remained calm. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "You have skill," she said softly. "Skill won't mean much if they hit us again." Marcus shot back. The hunter ship followed them into belt, slicing through the field with deadly precision. Whoever was flying it knew exactly what they were doing. Marcus dodged another blast, sweat dripping down his neck. His freighter wasn't built for dogfights. One more good hit, and it would all be over. Soraya's voice cut through the chaos. "Open the rear hatch." Marcus blinked at her. "What?" "Open it," she repeated firmly. "Trust me. That's open space back there. We both." "Do it." Marcus gritted his teeth, but something in her tone, steady, unshaken, made him obey. He flicked the switch. Warning lights flared as the rear hatch opened, exposing the ship's bay to the void. Soraya rose to her feet, gripping the edge of the seat for balance. The glow in her eyes flared brighter now, casting soft violet light across her silver skin. She stepped into the bay, her hair whipping in the artificial wind. She raised her hand, palm outward, toward the hunter's ship. Marcus watched in disbelief. "What are you?" Then it happened. A pulse of light shot from her hand, bright and crackling with raw energy. It streaked across the void, faster than plasma, and slammed into the hunter's ship. The enemy vessel jolted violently, its shield sparking. Another pulse followed, then another, each one hammering against its hull. Marcus stared, wide-eyed. Soraya stood firm, her whole body glowing with power, the storm of violet light pouring from her as if the stars themselves bent to her will. The hunter ship faltered, spinning wildly as its engine stuttered. Sparks burst across its hull. Finally, it limped away, retreating into the black. Within seconds, it was gone. Silence fell. Only the hum of the Wraith's engines remained. Marcus closed the hatch, his hands trembling slightly as Soraya staggered back into the cockpit. She looked exhausted, her skin pale, the glow in her eyes dimming. He stared at her, struggling for words. What was that? She sank into her seat, breathing hard. The gift of my people. What the hunters wanted. What the colony would have sold me for. Marcus swallowed. You're not just some runaway, are you? Her lips curved faintly, almost sad. No, I am Soraya Valen, last daughter of the Illyrians. And now, because you saved me, my fate and yours are bound together. Marcus leaned back in his chair, staring at her. The Illyrians! He had heard the name before, whispered in war stories, spoken with awe. A race thought to be extinct after the Dominion burned their worlds to ash. And yet here she was, alive, sitting in his ship, owing him a life debt. Marcus let out a long breath. Well, he said at last, I've really done it this time. Soraya's eyes met his, the faintest spark of determination flickering there. You have no idea, she whispered. The stars blurred into long streaks as the Wraith slipped into hyperspace. Marcus let the controls rest for the first time since the chase began. His arms ached, his head pounded, but at least they were alive. Soraya leaned back in the co-pilot's seat, her body still weak from using her strange power. Her violet eyes were half closed, yet alert, like someone used a danger never truly slept. Where are we going? She asked softly. Marcus thought for a moment. There's a station not far from here. Blackridge Outpost. Rough place, but it doesn't ask questions. If we're lucky, we can patch up the ship and disappear before anyone notices. Her gaze lingered on him. And if we are not lucky? Marcus gave a tired grin. Then we improvise. Hours later, the freighter dropped out of hyperspace. Blackridge Outpost appeared ahead, a crooked metal ring orbiting a dying moon. Its hull was patched with mismatched panels, its docking arms bent like broken fingers. But its lights still glowed, and ships of every shape crowded its ports. Traders, smugglers, mercenaries, people who lived on the edge of the law. Marcus guided the Wraith to Dock 9, paying the entry fee with the last of his credits. Inside, the station air smelled of oil, smoke, and too many bodies packed together. The narrow corridors buzzed with voices in dozens of languages. Neon signs flickered above shops that sold weapons, black market medicine, and things Marcus didn't want to ask about. He moved quickly, keeping Soraya close. Even with her hood pulled low, her silver skin caught curious stares. They found a mechanic who agreed to repair the damage for an outrageous price. Marcus paid anyway. He couldn't risk flying blind with hunters on their trail. While the ship was in the dock, they walked the crowded marketplace. Soraya's steps were graceful, silent, like she was born to move unnoticed even in chaos. But her eyes scanned everything with sharp focus. You've been here before, she murmured. Marcus nodded. A long time ago. Worked runs out of Blackridge when I was younger. Learned quick to keep my head down. And yet here we are, she said, her lips curving slightly. Marcus chuckled. Story of my life. They stopped at a small cantina carved into the station side. The dim light flickered, the air thick with smoke. Marcus ordered food, simple rations, barely edible, and pushed a plate towards Soraya. She studied it curiously, then took a careful bite. Her expression softened in surprise. It is strange, but good. Marcus raised an eyebrow. First time eating human food? First time eating food with company, she replied quietly. He looked at her then, really looked. Despite her strength and power, there was loneliness in her words, in the way her eyes lingered on the crowd, like she had always been apart from it. What happened to your people? He asked carefully. Her gaze fell. The Dominion happened. They came with fire, with armies. We fought, but they were endless. My people, we burned. I was taken as a child, a prize to be hidden, a weapon to be claimed. Marcus swallowed hard. He had heard the stories, but hearing them from someone who lived it was different. I escaped, she continued, her voice low. But they hunt me still, because of what I am. And what are you? He asked. Her eyes met his, glowing faintly again. The last of the Illyrians. The last who carries a gift. Marcus leaned back slowly. It confirmed what he suspected. A living legend was sitting across from him, and now he was tied to her fate. Before he could speak again, the cantina door hissed open. 3 figures entered, tall and armored, their faces hidden by black masks. The crowd grew silent. Marcus's stomach tightened. He knew the look. Hunters. The lead one scanned the room, then turned toward their table. Soraya's hand brushed Marcus's under the table. Her voice was calm, but urgent. Do not draw your weapon. Not yet. The hunters moved closer, their boots heavy on the floor. The air grew tense, every eye in the room watching. Marcus's hand itched toward his sidearm, but Soraya's grip tightened, her violet gaze holding his. Trust me, she whispered. The hunters stopped at their table. The leader's voice was low, mechanical through his mask. You got something that doesn't belong to you. Marcus forced a calm expression. Can't say I know what you're talking about. The hunter leaned down, his mask inches from Marcus's face. Then you won't mind if we look around. The tension was sharp as a blade. Marcus's heart raced. The hunters were here, now, and any wrong move would start a bloodbath. Soraya's eyes glowed faintly beneath her hood, and Marcus realized with a chill that the real danger wasn't just the hunters finding her. It was what she might unleash if pushed too far. The cantina had gone silent. Every mercenary traitor and drifter watched as the hunters loomed over Marcus and Soraya's table. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Marcus's fingers twitched near his holster. 3 hunters, armored and armed, against it with a half-dead freighter pilot's reflexes. He wouldn't stand a chance. The lead hunter leaned closer, his mask glowing faintly red. We know what you're hiding. Give her up, and maybe we let you live. Marcus didn't move. He felt Soraya's hand on his wrist again, calm but firm. Her voice was soft, only for him. Not yet, she whispered. Marcus kept his eyes on the hunter's mask. You're mistaken. Just me and my drinking partner here. The hunter's reply was a fist slamming into the table, hard enough to crack it down the middle. Do not test us. The room tensed. A few patrons slipped quietly toward the exit. Others stayed, curious, waiting for blood. Soraya finally lifted her hood. The glow of her violet eyes lit the smoky air. The hunters froze. There she is, one muttered. The leader raised his gauntlet, a blade snapping out with a hiss. Target confirmed. Take her. The room exploded. Marcus ducked left as the hunter's blade slashed where his head had been a moment earlier. He drew his sidearm and fired. The shot sparked off the hunter's armor, barely leaving a dent. Soraya stood, her hand raised. A pulse of violet light burst from her palm, slamming into the nearest hunter and throwing him against the wall. Bottles shattered. Glass rained across the floor. The patrons screamed and scattered, overturning tables in a rush for the door. The cantina became a storm of noise, smoke, and flashing light. The second hunter lunged at Soraya, his gauntlet crackling with energy. She dodged, her movements fluid, almost graceful, then countered with blasts that sent him crashing across a table. Marcus fired again, aiming for joints in the armor this time. His shot hit the leader's shoulder, sparking wires and forcing him back a step. Move! Marcus shouted, grabbing Soraya's arm. They sprinted toward the back exit, blaster fire scorching the walls around them. The cantina owner shouted something about damages, but his voice was lost in the chaos. The narrow corridor behind the cantina echoed with pounding boots. The hunters weren't giving up. Marcus pulled Soraya behind a stack of crates. His breathing was ragged, his heart hammering. They're armored. My shots barely scratched them. Soraya's eyes glowed brighter, her skin faintly shimmering as if light itself lived beneath it. Then let me finish it. Marcus shook his head. You're still weak from before. If you burn yourself out. Her gaze cut into his, steady and certain. If they take me, you die too. Our fates are bound. Before Marcus could reply, the wall beside them exploded inward. The lead hunter stepped through the smoke, his blade glowing hot. Soraya rose to meet him, her entire body glowing now, her power flooding the corridor with violet light. The fight that followed was nothing Marcus had ever seen. The hunter swung his blade, but Soraya caught it with her bare hand. Energy sparked and screamed, but she didn't flinch. Her other hand lashed out, sending a wave of force that hurled the armored giant down the corridor like a rag doll. The second hunter charged, but Soraya spun, her light forming a shield that absorbed his strike before exploding outward, knocking him flat. The last hunter aimed a rifle at Marcus. Marcus rolled, fired once, and this time the shot found its mark, piercing the unarmored joint at the neck. The hunter collapsed, sparks flaring. The corridor filled with smoke and silence. Only Marcus's ragged breathing and Soraya's soft glow remained. Soraya staggered, nearly falling. Marcus caught her, lowering her gently to the floor. Her skin was pale, her glow flickering like a dying flame. "Hey!" Marcus said quickly, panic in his voice. "Stay with me?" Her lips curved faintly. "You fight well for a human." He almost laughed, though his chest felt tight. "And you fight like a one-woman army." Her hand pressed weakly against his. "I warned you they will never stop. More will come." Marcus swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. He looked at the fallen hunters, then at Soraya's weary face. "Then let them come," he said quietly. "I'm not giving you up." Her violet eyes softened, and for the first time since he'd met her, Marcus thought he saw something like trust there. They dragged themselves back to the Wraith. The mechanic had barely finished repairs, but Marcus didn't care. They needed to leave before reinforcements arrived. As the freighter lifted from the station, Soraya whispered something, almost too soft to hear. "You saved me twice now. The bond between us grows deeper." Marcus glanced at her, his voice rough. "What does that mean?" Her eyes closed, exhaustion finally pulling her under. "You will learn in time." The hum of the Wraith's engines filled the cockpit as the freighter cut through hyperspace. Marcus Hale sat slumped in the pilot's chair, staring at the star-streaked void. His jaw ached, his knuckles were split open, and every muscle in his body felt like it had been stretched past breaking. Across from him, Soraya sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, her silver skin dulled, her violet eyes dimmer than before. The glow that had once poured from her seemed now like a flickering ember, struggling against the dark. Marcus studied her face. Strong, proud, yet lined with weariness that went deeper than exhaustion. She had carried this weight for far longer than he had been part of her story. "You should rest," she murmured, her voice soft but commanding. Marcus smirked faintly, shaking his head. "Not until I know we're clear. Hunters, enforcers, half the station after us. Doesn't feel like bedtime." Her gaze lingered on him, calm but piercing. "You are not safe. Not with me." The words hung between them like a blade. Marcus leaned forward, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. "Back in the cantina," he said, "you told me the bond between us was growing. I need you to explain what that means." "No riddles, Soraya. Not anymore." She hesitated. For a moment her expression softened, almost human in its vulnerability. Then she spoke, her voice carrying the weight of something ancient. "My people believe in the Luminara, a thread woven when one life saves another. It is not just gratitude. It is connection. When you pulled me from the storm, something awakened inside me. That thread tied us together." Marcus frowned, rubbing his temple. "A thread? You mean some kind of psychic link?" Her eyes glowed faintly again. "More than that. A bond. Our strength, our pain, even our fates are now shared. If I weaken, so do you. If you fall, so do I, together or not at all." Marcus sat back slowly, letting the words settle like heavy stones in his chest. "So you're saying, I'm stuck with you." Her lips curved faintly, almost into a smile. "Or perhaps I am stuck with you." The moment was cut short by a shudder that rippled through the ship. Warning alarms blared. Marcus shot forward in his chair, eyes scanning controls. "Not hunters," he muttered. "This is bigger." The stars outside twisted, then split apart as something massive emerged from hyperspace. Marcus's blood ran cold. The vessel filled the screen, a warship so enormous it dwarfed the Wraith like a shark looming over a minnow. Its hull was black as midnight, etched with crimson veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. Soraya's face drained of color. Dominion? Marcus had heard the stories, whispered in minor bars and soldier barracks. Dominion warships never pursued without purpose. When they came to erase. The ship's calm crackled to life, filling the cockpit with a voice like cold steel. Illyrian survivor detected. Power down your vessel and prepare for boarding. Resistance will be punished. Soraya's hands clenched, trembling despite her calm expression. They have hunted me all my life, and now they have found me again. Marcus's jaw tightened, his hands gripping the yoke until his knuckles went white. Then they'll have to kill me before they touch you. From the Dominion ship, a swarm of smaller fighters detached, darting forward like a cloud of predators. Their engines glowed crimson as plasma fire streaked toward the Wraith. Marcus yanked the controls, diving into evasive maneuvers. The freighter groaned, shields sparking under barrage. Shields at 60%, the computer droned. Soraya leaned forward, her eyes burning brighter. I can hold them off. If I use my power again. No, Marcus snapped, cutting her off. Not like before. You're running on fumes. You'll kill yourself. Her gaze was calm but unyielding. Better I burn than we both die. Marcus swore under his breath, then slammed the calm switch. This is Marcus Hale, the freighter Wraith. I don't care who you are. You'll have to tear this ship apart before I give her up. The Dominion's reply was merciless. Then so be it. The fighters swarmed closer, spitting fire. Marcus weaved between them, his freighter rattling with every near miss. He fired the cannons, scoring a hit on one, but the swarm was endless. Soraya pressed her hand against the console. Suddenly, the entire ship seemed to come alive. The engines roared louder, the shields flared brighter, and Marcus felt something surge through him. Sharper reflexes, faster reactions, as if the universe itself had slowed down to match his movements. What did you? The bond, she said, her voice strained. Through it, I can give you my strength. Borrow my light. Fight with me. Marcus's hands flew over the controls, his mind clearer than it had ever been. Every twist, every shot was perfect. Together, they moved as one, human and Illyrian bound by something greater than either of them. One fighter exploded. Then another. Then another. Wreckage littered the void, glowing red against the black. Finally, the last fighter fell, spiraling into nothingness. Marcus sagged back in his chair, breathless. We did it. But Soraya slumped too, her glow dimming dangerously. He caught her hand, panic rising. Hey, stay with me. Don't you dare fade on me now. Her eyes opened weakly, glowing like dying stars. Do you see now? We are stronger together. But the bond always takes its price. Before Marcus could answer, the cockpit filled with crimson light. The Dominion warship loomed closer, its main cannon charging. The glow built until it lit the entire void, a sun of death ready to fire. Soraya's voice was a whisper, almost lost in the hum of the ship. If that weapon strikes, nothing in this system will survive. Marcus's jaw tightened. He squeezed her hand, his eyes locked on the impossible weapon before them. Then we don't run, he said. We fight. Soraya's lips curved faintly, the ghost of a smile. Then may the stars remember us both. The cannon flared, brighter than the sun, and Marcus hurled the ray straight toward it. The cockpit shook violently as alarms screamed, red lights bathing Marcus and Soraya in a glow that felt like blood. Outside, the Dominion warship's main cannon burned brighter and brighter, a sun of destruction ready to erase them in a single shot. Marcus's grip on the controls was iron, his teeth clenched so hard his jaw ached. His knuckles were raw, his body screamed with fatigue, but his eyes blazed with something unbreakable. He wasn't going to run. Not this time. Soraya lay half-slumped beside him, her breathing shallow, her once brilliant glow reduced to a faint shimmer. Yet when she turned her face toward him, her violet eyes still carried strength. They will destroy us, she whispered. Marcus leaned closer, his voice steady. Not if we destroy them first. The cannon reached its peak, the void outside trembling with power. It was like staring into the heart of a star. Marcus yanked the Wraith into a desperate charge, the freighter screaming as its engine strained to maximum. The Dominion ship grew larger and larger until its surface filled the screen, a wall of black steel and crimson veins. Marcus, Soraya gasped, no ship can survive that blast. Then we'll have to do something no ship has ever done, he said through gritted teeth. She stared at him for a long second, this stubborn human who had risked everything for her, and something inside her shifted. Her chest rose with a ragged breath, and her trembling hand reached out, covering his on the controls. Her voice was weak but resolute. Then take all of me. Marcus turned to her, confusion in his eyes. What are you talking about? The bond, she whispered. I have held back, because the cost is always too high. But if I give you everything, my strength, my life, my essence, you could do what no human could ever dream of. Marcus's heart stopped. No, don't you dare. I didn't save you just to watch you throw yourself away. Her lips curved faintly, almost a smile. You did not save me, Marcus. We saved each other. And now this is the only way. Before he could protest, her glow flared. Brilliant silver light poured from her skin, her hair, her eyes, filling the cockpit like a storm of stars. The light surged into him through the bond, flooding his veins with energy so fierce it felt like fire and lightning at once. Marcus gasped, his entire body trembling as his mind expanded beyond anything he had known. He could see every flicker of plasma in the enemy cannon. He could feel the pull of gravity, the hum of the Wraith's engines, even the heartbeat of Soraya merging with his own. They were not two lives anymore. They were one. The Dominion's cannon fired. A beam of raw annihilation tore across the void, wide enough to shatter a continent. But Marcus moved before it struck. His hands, guided by her strength, his mind sharpened by her essence, pulled the Wraith into a maneuver so precise it seemed impossible. The freighter twisted sideways, its hull grazing the edge of beam, shields boiling, metal screaming. For a heartbeat, the world was white fire and crushing force. But they survived. Marcus roared, diving straight through the chaos, racing toward the Dominion warship's vulnerable underbelly. With Soraya's energy flowing through him, his aim was perfect. He unleashed the freighter's full payload, every torpedo, every missile, directly into the ship's core. The impact was apocalyptic. The Dominion warship convulsed, fire erupting from its veins. Cracks tore through its hull, crimson light exploding outward as its engines collapsed inward. And then silence, broken by the thunder of its death. The warship shattered into a storm of burning fragments, scattered across the void like ashes in the wind. Marcus sat frozen, chest heaving, sweat pouring down his face. His hands trembled on the controls, and his heart pounded so hard it felt like it might break through his ribs. They had won. Against all odds, they had destroyed a Dominion warship. But when he turned to Soraya, his triumph vanished. She was slumped in her seat, her glow gone. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her breathing was faint as a whisper. Marcus's throat tightened. No, stay with me. You're not leaving. Not like this. Her hand, fragile but steady, lifted and brushed against his cheek. The bond is complete, she whispered. What was mine is now yours. Tears burned his eyes. No, I don't want your power. I want you. Her violet eyes softened, shining with warmth even as the light dimmed. Then carry me in every step you take. And with that, her glow faded completely, her hand slipping from his cheek. Marcus sat in silence, his chest hollow, his body trembling with grief. He wanted to scream, to rage, to break the universe for taking her from him. But then he felt it, a pulse, not from his own heart, but something deeper, echoing inside his soul. A warmth, a glow, faint but undeniable. Her voice, not with his ears, but in his mind. I am with you, always. Marcus closed his eyes, his tears falling freely. And for the first time, he understood the truth of the bond. She hadn't died. Not really. She had given him her essence, her strength, her light. He wasn't alone. When he finally looked out at the stars again, the wreckage of the Dominion warship drifted silently, a graveyard of steel. And Marcus Hale, one man in a battered freighter, sat at the center of it, carrying the power and spirit of the last Illyrian within him. A human had saved an alien's life, and in return, she had given him something greater than power. She had given him herself. Her destiny and his were now one